And welcome everyone to another episode of the Esoteric Wellness Blog. I am your host, Coach Kyle. So today, just wrapped up my last session not too long ago. It has been one of those emotional days, but there's just a lot of emotion in sessions, and not that that's a bad thing. But today I had an interesting conversation with a client. Someone struggling with chronic pain. And, this is a new concept to me, but it was just kind of described in a beautiful way that I wanted to share. So people living in pain, if that happens to describe you or someone you know, they often want nothing more than to be free of pain. And that's understandable because pain isn't fun. Pain hurts. Pain sucks. But when we're in the midst of chronic pain, there's this interesting, almost paradoxical aspect to the process of recovering from chronic pain, in that it does really require us to learn to let go of our desire, our need to eliminate our pain in a way that it's almost like seemingly the more frustration, the more anger, the more fear, the more we want that pain to leave, translates to holding on tighter to it. And then ultimately, we want to be able to let it go. And that requires us to look at our pain in the opposite way, welcoming it, being willing to experience it, seeing it with love and compassion. This is an interesting concept, and I very rarely will discuss it in this way early on in the process, because when you're in the midst of pain and this is a very new concept, this often lands as somewhat insulting. And at the very least, I sound like a crazy person. And it's not that, you have to want to be in pain. It's just that you have to be able to relate to your pain in a way that's not making it worse. And I'm not going to get into the neuroscience here. We did a whole full length episode of the podcast on the neuroscience of pain. We did another full length episode on the pain recovery process. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that here about what I mean by that and why. But this client today put it in such an eloquent way that I felt the need to share it because it was so beautiful. They described it, we were kind of talking about this concept and this perspective. And they said, so there's this part of me that's crying out for help in the form of pain. Its act of crying out takes the form of pain. And what it wants most, what this part of myself wants, is love and compassion. But by crying out in pain, what I give it is the opposite of what it needs, what it wants, what it so desperately is crying out for. I meet that cry for help with anger, frustration, with fear, with worry. And this just makes that part of myself cry out even more, even louder. And by understanding what's really going on and being able to look at my pain with compassion, with love, give that part of myself what it's really so desperately trying to seek, is ultimately how I make my pain go away. Because this part of myself has no further need to cry out because it's getting what it needs, it's getting what it wants. And yeah, I thought that was just a beautiful way to describe it. And it's so true, because ultimately, in the pain recovery process, what I'm helping people to understand is avoiding or trying to avoid their pain makes it persist. There's a quote, probably I don't recall who said it, and I'll probably screw this up, but what we resist persists. And that is definitely the case with chronic pain. And normally, from a neuroscience perspective, we're talking about chronic pain in the lens of safety versus danger. Our brain is seeing us as being in danger and it's protecting us with pain. Well, in that sense, I don't know of any safer feeling, any safer experience than being immersed in love. When we feel loved, I don't know that we can feel any safer than that. So when we extend love towards our own pain, yeah, that's going to make us feel safe. It's going to make our brain feel safer. And it's going to see less of a need to protect us with pain. This is one of the toughest things to really accept and learn and get good at with the chronic pain recovery process, is to be able to relate to your pain in this way. It is truly difficult. But once you learn it, I think it really explains why many people, once they get to that point where they can, and it's now being effective, they're experiencing less or no pain. They look back on their experience with their pain with gratitude because it's taught them an amazing lesson in life. The value, the importance, the power of self compassion, of compassion in general, that the strongest force in this universe is love. And the absence of love is pain. And pulling from a lot of esoteric type teachings, love is infinite. Love has a way of, the more you give, the more you get. Like it's not a finite resource. And we always have that resource available to us. We can give it to ourselves even when no one else around us is. And that can be enough. That can be enough. So I sometimes say the process of recovering from chronic pain is learning how to love yourself, all parts of yourself. And I think that's a beautiful way to think about it. So I just wanted to share that little bit with you guys today. I hope that didn't piss too many people off who may be struggling with pain. And if it does piss you off, that's normal. That's okay. because that's going to land in a way that doesn't feel right to you. But give it some thought, ponder on that. Acknowledge and recognize your anger at that uh, perspective too. But I hope at least one of you hears this and it is helpful in some way. So thanks for listening. As always, you are beautiful, you are loved. Until next time.